This is VOCM Open Line. Call 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626. The views and opinions of this program are not necessarily those of this station. The biggest conversation in Newfoundland and Labrador starts now.
Well, good Friday morning and welcome to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and I'm sitting in all this week. I got actually one more day this week, and they tell me I'll be back next week. Every time I get to the door, the fob that gets the door open works, so I'm happy to come in the door and help out here for this period of time on Open Line. And it's been a great week, listening to lots of concerns and lots of opinions on different issues, from the food fishery to security to schooling, and of course all kinds of stuff on people's minds. And it's Friday. I know they would call this a free-for-all type of day. Look, every day is a free-for-all day here on Open Line. So looking forward to hearing from you this morning. Give us a call. The lines are wide open. Of course, yesterday the report, the survey, I suppose, on the food fishery was released, and the federal minister was on, and you heard her on VOCM. She said that the report should be a significant driver to the final decision on what's going to happen with the food fishery this year. And of course, we've heard continuously from people that want to go fishing, that go fishing annually. For the last number of years, there have been calls to expand it, to change the limits, to give more time, to make the fishery more safe, to make the fishery more accessible to people. And they're hoping that this is the year. Could it be the year? Maybe it is. We're going to find out in a few weeks. Although I will say that the survey didn't say anything different than we hadn't been hearing here all week, and I'm sure for the last couple of years on this subject matter. And of course, they're going to temper the survey, the opinions, which are mostly all from Newfoundland and Labrador. They're going to temper that with the science. So we'll find out in a few weeks what's going to happen there. We're hoping to have someone on from the NLTA today to talk about this suggestion that graduates passing students in school, that their final results should be tied to attendance. Do the students, all the students, need to be in the classroom and have attendance tied to whether they're going to make the grade or not? Is that something that you would like to see? Is it something that you think is ridiculous? There are some students probably out there that don't actually need to be in class every day. There are some students that probably should be in class more than they are. It's become a significant issue in the province of Ontario. Do you think it's an issue here? If you do, give us a call. Also, the province has extended the studded tire season until the middle of May. I kind of liken it every year to Groundhog Day, where you get to this point in the year and government sticks its head up and goes, it sees its shadow. We've got 2 more weeks of possible winter. Let's extend the studded tire season. So if you're a studded tire person, you now have until May 15th to get those studs off of your vehicle and get back to regular, tires for the summer season. Studded tires have always been controversial. I had studded tires for years. I probably haven't had them now for the past 15 years or so. I was for sure convinced that I needed them to get up hills if there was a bit of ice and so forth. But since then, I found it's actually not true. I didn't need them at all. You just have decent winter tires and you should be good to go in a lot of cases. But however, there are a lot of people out there that use the studded tires. They feel safer with them. Are they? Should they be allowed at all? And of course, we've heard over the years about damage being caused to the roadways by the studs. And do they contribute to the rutting that we've seen on some of our highways? The Outer Ring Road comes to mind, where it seems to turn to rut quicker than a lot of places. And the continuous wear and tear of the studded tire on the pavement, is it having a negative effect? And then, of course, the negative effect on the road costs us money because we got to repair the road. So that's up as well. And later in our program this morning, we're going to be joined by Premier Tony Wakeham. He is looking at the House reopening this Tuesday. There's an 18-day stint on the schedule to the end of May where MHAs will be in the House to debate and talk about all things that are pertinent to the province of Newfoundland and Labrador. And of course, we are anxiously awaiting this government's first budget. And of course, the first budget of a government is always something that kind of sets a tone for where the province is taking us financially, of course, but also when it comes to programming, whether it's social or economic programming. And of course, we're going to be anxious to see what's in that. And the federal government is saying that they're going to release an update, fiscal update. They had their budget in the fall. They delayed it. Normally in the spring, they went to the fall because of the election. They're going to do a financial update coming up in the next few weeks, but they were kind of open-ended about when that would actually be. And a lot of times the province here has waited to get that federal fiscal update or the federal budget before going public with their own budget. I'm not sure if that's going to happen here, but we're going to find out maybe this morning when the Premier joins us later on. And if you have any questions that you would like to put to the Premier or like to have us put to the Premier, we'll try our best to get them in. You can give us a call and talk about that. But there's lots of things going on in the province today. I just want to talk about a couple of things here off the top, that are kind of interesting. It was mentioned earlier this morning that on this date in 1982, we've all seen the images. Pierre Trudeau was sitting down with Queen Elizabeth II, signing the proclamation of the Constitution Act for our country, the Charter of Rights and Freedoms, as part of the new Constitution. And of course, that was signed in 1982. But it was never endorsed by Quebec. So we had 9 provinces that agreed to it. Federal government agreed to it, and of course, the old BNA Act, the British North America Act, went out the window a bit, and the new Constitution came into effect. And that led to a big moment in this province's history in 1990, the end of June 1990, after huge debate over the Meech Lake Accord that would bring Quebec into agreement with the Constitution of the country, of course, died in late June. The Premier of Manitoba, Elijah Harper, didn't put it through. Clyde Wells, the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, who was a staunch opponent to what he called special status for Quebec at the time with regards to what the agreement had laid out, was against it and never put it to a vote in the House of Assembly here at the end of the day. The date died, Meech Lake Accord died on that day between the actions of Manitoba and Newfoundland and Labrador. And of course, then it reared its ugly head again. 2 years later, Prime Minister at the time, Brian Mulroney, tried to get through with the Charlottetown Accord, and of course, that died as well. It failed to get passed, and so the Constitution Act, as it stands today, is still not endorsed by the province of Quebec. However, it is legally bound by the Constitution Act. So that happened on this date in 1982. Also, still concerning a lot of people, and I know that if you don't know, you don't know. But AI, and some people only know AI as a term. They don't actually know what it's doing. They're just concerned about what it might be doing. And we're starting to learn more and more and more about AI and the things that it can do. And we all know that if we have social media feeds and we're looking for, a type of truck, and we put it in our search and we're looking for the truck, the next thing you know, continuously for months, you're going to see ads about that particular item. And even if you buy it, and it still just keeps coming up. So, they're monitoring. And I always think back to the old joke, like you're around your house and something, you're saying, somebody says, well, all these devices you got are listening to you, and then you laugh, then Alexa laughs, then Google laughs, and Siri laughs, and so on. So it is having more prominence. That is absolutely for sure. The electronic world that we live in has gone way bigger than it was when we were first started to sit down to our personal computers. So Dave, we have caller on line 1. I'm going to go there. That's Gerard Brennan of the Royal Newfoundland Regiment High School Hockey Tournament. And if I can get my clicker to get to the right spot here. I need more nimble fingers on a Friday morning, that is for sure. And this is a huge hockey tournament. Gerard, welcome to Open Line.
Good morning, Darren. How are you this morning?
Not too bad, sir. It's great to hear from you. I know that you guys have been off your head out there managing this tournament. Tell us a bit about where it is and who's involved.
Okay, so the tournament right now is played out of the Paradise Double Ice Complex on the Glacier. Games ongoing now all day today, Friday, Saturday, and Sunday, now that we're into the weekend, certainly. The tournament started on Monday evening with some of the local Metro teams playing each other. So the tournament is in its ninth year. We have 80 games of hockey, 32 schools involved, or 32 teams, 22 schools. And we've got teams in from Labrador this year, Mealy Mountain out of Goose Bay, Mealy Mountain College or Collegiate, and we have boys and girls team out of there, and we have a girls team from Deer Lake this year, first time.
Yeah, that's great. And the expansion of girls hockey has been incredible over the last 20 years for sure. And just tell me, what's the atmosphere like in the barn out there?
Oh, let me tell you, it's electric out there. The kids are the players themselves, the kids are just eating the stuff up. They love it. I mean, it is by far the best high school hockey tournament in the province every year. Kids come in from small schools with an opportunity to pit themselves against some of the bigger schools to see where they stack up against them, and they're just loving some great hockey. We've already had some overtime games yesterday, 2 or 3 overtime games, so the hockey's fantastic out there. Yeah,
what teams that you may not have expected have impressed you this week so far? What have you seen, and maybe even some upsets?
Well, I tell you, to be honest with you, we've got a team in from Springdale, Indian River, High, the Mealy Mountain teams have impressed me. Some of the smaller schools, like I said, that don't have an opportunity to play at this level of competition, and are stacking up fairly well against some of the bigger schools here and around the metro. We've had a goaltender last night, player of the game. I can't recall the school now, but he faced 67 shots last night. Even though it was in a losing effort, he stood on his head.
Look, I've been to a couple openings over the past week or two for provincial tournaments, under 13, under 15 boys, to help open those tournaments, and they're great tournaments. They're wonderful tournaments to end your year with. But the school tournament is different, isn't it? These are schools against schools. It's the old be true to your school, rah rah rah, and all that. But these are all players that when they go back to their schools, they know some of the players from the other schools and so forth. So it creates a network, a hockey network on a different level. It creates the opportunity to make new friends and new alliances, and players learning who the players are that are playing at their caliber and so forth, and making new friends that may last a lifetime. That's the difference with this type of tournament, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've got, kids that under Hockey NL playing all the various levels, under 15, under U13, U15, U18, all-star teams and that under Hockey NL. But when they go back to their high school, they're all hyped and representing their high school. And we've had examples over the year, and we've got pictures in our yearbook, certainly over the last few years, that showed, players from the two teams that are on the ice, and when the game is all said and done, they get together in the middle of the ice for a picture, because they all played together, U17, U16, whatever the case may be, and they just renew those friendships. They're all great friends.
Yeah, and these tournaments, they don't happen organically, do they, Gerard? There's a lot of hard work and a lot of planning and a lot of people behind the scenes that pull this together.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, we've got a volunteer board of directors. The majority of us are retired veterans. We had a couple of people that have been involved in the hockey for a long time on our volunteer board of directors. But without the volunteers, we certainly couldn't get it together. We start the planning for this tournament. We'll start the planning now for 2027 in September, October this year. We'll take a break in the summer, and then we'll start the planning process. So there's a lot of moving parts, a lot of people involved in making this happen. Without the team our team, volunteer board of directors, this would, we wouldn't be anywhere with it. kudos to them for the work they do in certainly making this happen.
Yeah, and it's after the Easter break as well. It must be a bit challenging, I suppose, in getting the referees and getting all the people you need in place for a tournament this size.
Oh, absolutely. And, we had some issues in the past in relation to ice time. I mean, if Easter is late in April, getting quality ice in last week of April, early May is always a challenge. Most arenas now are getting ready to take their ice off at that time. And, of course, in early April, as we are now, some of the challenges, knock wood, it could be weather-related and getting the teams in across the aisle. And so there are always challenges. There are always conflicts. We find a way to work around them. Our referees, thank God, are locked in. I'll give you an example this year. Most of our timekeepers now are young folks that are either in the early stages of university. And, of course, one of the conflicts this year is Mun's exams around to go the same week as the tournament this year. So we had a bit of a struggle finding some timekeepers, but we managed to find it.
Well, Gerard, that sounds like a fantastic tournament out there. All the best to you and the organizers and all the teams from across the province that are coming out to take part. It's a fantastic event. You say this is your 7th year. Well, looking forward to the 8th year and the 9th and so on. A great way to get the kids together in a good tournament atmosphere, especially at the high school level. Thank you very much, Gerard.
Yeah,
you take care.
All right, thanks, Al. Bye-bye.
All right. Thank you, Gerard. And it's 16 after, so we're going to go to a quick break now. We'll be back on Open Line in just a few moments. Welcome back to Open Line on this Friday morning. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and, of course, the numbers to call in, 888-590-8626. That's 888-590-VOCM. Or locally 273-5211. We got lots of lines open, but first of all, we're going to go to Bill on line 2. Bill, how you doing this morning?
Not too bad. Yesterday was a nicer day, but that's okay.
We'll take the cold, foggy days. Sorry, Bill.
Yeah,
you go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Okay, no, today is, I look up war records and stuff like. But anyway, today is April 17th, and it's a notorious anniversary because it was the day of World War I battle, Monchy-le-Preux. I think that's maybe how you pronounce it. But it was the second deadliest battle that Newfoundlanders, with the regiment faced, after Beaumont-Hamel.
Okay, and that was on this date. And what year was that, Bill?
I think it was 1917.
Yeah.
And I think so I just got a few numbers here. It was a total about 196 people soldiers were killed, 460 casualties. 150 prisoners of war. So it was a pretty sad day for Newfoundland. I think that it's the write-up that I saw, it's second only to Beaumont-Hamel, and so I just thought I'd make a note of that. There, I just came across it last night, and I noticed that today is also the 17th.
Yeah, so thanks for bringing that through, Bill. And and as you know, because you've done a bit of research on this sort of thing, is that Newfoundland Labrador is punching above its weight in the blood that we have given to any of these causes, especially in World War I, with such a horrific war fought in terrible conditions and under terrible circumstances in many areas. And like you say, Beaumont-Hamel and this one and others, it's a great loss. And unfortunately, in recent years we've continued to.
Yeah, I think they said, I've heard it said that we're overrepresented in the forces, but that goes another topic about how many bases we have in Newfoundland and actual infrastructure and those kind of things and the associated jobs that go with it. But anyway, I called about to talk about the speeding. And the lady called in yesterday, and she got sucker punched. I think so, right? Because down there on Waterbridge Road, and I brought this up in Open Line before, is that speed zone changes, and it changes pretty abruptly, and it's a short stretch, okay? And so the other thing too was now she was doing 52, which I mean, in a normal situation, 52 on that road, that's the normal speed. And but I slow down a little bit because of its curvy and stuff. But I mean, that's the allowed speed on that in most times down there. And then I looked up the fines, and for school zones, your defined schedule changes, and that's why it was so much. And so she got tacked going at 52, which is, by law, it was 22 over the 30 limit. So that put her up in the range, like between $500 and $700. So she really got sucker punched on that one, I think. And and then people said it was November the 11th, so it was probably a holiday. So I hope she gets her day in court, and she gets that one dismissed. That was terrible.
Yeah, no, and I think some of these have to be challenged anyways, just on principle, just to see where they land, so that it sets the landscape better for all of us. But yeah, you're right. If that was on November 11th, of course, then she's only doing 2 over the speed limit if it's 50
right.
in that area. So that's not a ticket at all, actually.
So it's a change, right? So and then in the conversation, a couple of people, like you have one man said that, like he was a volunteer police officer at one point or something. You seem to know an awful lot about speed cameras and everything, but or speed radar things. And he was saying that they will allow 5 kilometers an hour over for driver error and 5 for possible technical error. That what they will allow. So what he said that now. What he said is you might get away with it, see? But the thing about it is the speed limit is still 100, right? And so when I'm driving down the outer ring road, say, and I'm in the lane that the arrow tells me, because it's a through lane, and I'm doing 100 there, and someone is thinking, well, I can get away with 110. And he's tailgating me because he thinks, he thinks now the new speed limit, because he can get away with 110, that the speed limit is 110. But that's not true. See, this is what happens. Everyone has the impression, from anecdotes, and another guy who was a driving instructor called your line yesterday said that the government said that they'll allow 10 over. So all of a sudden it's in everyone's mind now that, okay, the government will allow 10 over or they won't take it, so I can get away with 10 over, but it's still, the speed limit is still 100.
Yeah, so and if you're doing 105, you're technically breaking the speed limit, and of course you are you could be subject to be ticketed. And, whether there's an actual fine or a demerit point within 10 kilometers, I know it differs between every 10 kilometers, I believe, the Traffic Act. But yeah, you're not out of harm's way if you're doing 105 in a 100 zone or 53 in a 50 zone. You are not. Whether the police will pull you over or that'll actually happen, that's probably limited, but still, it doesn't give you the free to go, oh, yes, I hear they don't do this or they don't do that. The other thing, too, that's interesting, and I've done a few ride-alongs with police myself over the years, and some of it has been highway and so forth. One of the things that they tell me is that your speedometer in your vehicle is calibrated to manufacturer settings. And as soon as you put a different set of tires on your vehicle, you may be out by a kilometer or two, and other things that can affect it over time as well.
Okay, yeah, sure. But I think that it's already said and it's already been out there that you can, people will challenge up to like 10 kilometers an hour, and so in most cases they won't write a ticket for those things. But it is in the Traffic Act that if you're going anywhere between 1 and 10 over, that's the first step. That is against the law. Okay. Yep. So like when I drive on the outer ring, like I feel like in the ideal conditions at 100 kilometers an hour, I mean, I'm not afraid to drive. And people say, well, you're a wimp or something like that. What's wrong with you? You're not doing 110 or 120 or something like that. But, like if I'm driving 95, or even 90, depending on the weather conditions, and I'm in that through lane, that sort of thing. Now, I don't deserve, to have someone tailgate me. And this is what goes on, up there. I mean, this is what I was on Open Line in December about this issue, and I was on several times about it, And people have come up to me and said, Bill, she said, I think you made a difference because. When I get up on that highway now and I look at the overhead signs and I say, yeah, that makes sense. I'll get out in that lane. It's a through lane. I'm not blocking the right lane. The people are trying to merge, stuff like that. And the left lane just generally it moves a little faster than the right lane because the right lane is coming and going kind of thing, but it's not by design. The left lane doesn't, so 100, and people might be traveling at 95 because of all the activity that's going on in the right lane, but it's not by design. And the left lane is not a fast lane, okay? So so even the officials will say that the left lane moves a little bit faster, but it moves a little bit faster because of the activity that goes on in the right lane. So I sent you.
Yeah. So Bill, I'm up against a break now, and I know you've talked about this before, and a lot of people have heard it. We appreciate the view, and of course, when we talk about speeds on the highway and the signage and all that, those are maximum speeds in ideal conditions, and of course, the conditions aren't always ideal. So I'm going to leave it there with you, Bill. Thank you very much for calling. We're going to go to the break, and Dave, you take it away. Thank you, Bill. Welcome back to Open Line, and we got lots of lines open here on a Friday morning. I guess everybody's planning for the weekend, so let's get some calls in here, 273-5211 and 888. And if I could remember the rest of it, it is 590-8626. Give us a call on whatever it is that you're thinking about this morning that might be of interest to others. And I have on line 3 right now, George. Good morning, George.
Yes, good morning.
How can I help you?
I just want to report a set of lost keys. It was in the vicinity, actually right in the driveway of the Legion Club in Mount Pearl.
Okay. Can you describe them for us?
Last night. Sorry?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I say it was anywhere between 7 and 10 o'clock last night.
Have you been back to the area to look for them, or?
Yeah, we went back after we discovered that the keys were no longer in our possession. We went back there again last night about 11 o'clock, but I couldn't see anything in the parking lot.
And you don't have one of those locator things on them? They're just a set of keys?
No.
Okay. No, can you describe them for us, just in case somebody's seen them and dropped them off somewhere? Somebody may have heard that keys have been turned in somewhere.
It's they belong to a 2025 Chevy Trax.
Okay.
I think it's about 4 keys on the fob, and there's a silver filled case attached to it. And there's another little emblem there that says the world's greatest grandmother. So obviously, it's not my keys, but... No,
but you need them back, though, because of that, hey.
Yeah, we do.
Okay, so, and you think they were dropped in the parking lot at Legion in Mount Pearl area, and somewhere around 10 o'clock last night or before 10 o'clock last night, and you haven't seen them since? Okay, so if anybody has seen those, turn them in. If you're listening, please give us a call here, 273-5211. Dave, you can try and hook George back up with his keys if we can help him in any way on that. George, thank you, and best of luck on this.
Thank you. Have a good day.
Okay, next up, we are going to line 1, and we have Ross on line 1. Ross, good morning.
Good morning. You mentioned in the beginning there about the studded tires versus no studs. I agree with you that studded tires are not necessarily safer. I mean, when you have good winter tires, studs are not necessarily good, but when you have studded tires on, you are in more danger of slipperier conditions on dry pavement than you would be if you have winter tires on, because when you slam on the brakes, those studs become like no traction at all, just slide further. And studies have been done to prove that. And so if you're coming to a sudden stop and you got studs on, you're not going to stop as quick as you would if you did not have studs.
Yeah, I have an engineering friend who's keen on this. A few years ago, way back when this was a big deal, people were really concerned about studded tires. There seemed to be a push towards people not using them and so forth. And he told me that some of the companies that have done engineering studies on this have shown that you can actually reduce your stopping time in some some conditions by not having studded tires on, but yet you have to have a quality tire on to make much of a difference at all. So it doesn't necessarily pan out for all tires and in all circumstances, but the tires have to be quality and they have to be in good condition, of course, to equal it out. But at the end of the day, he said it just showed that there was no grand advantage to studded tires other than it may make you feel all warm and fuzzy knowing that you got a stud that can help you get up over an icy road, I suppose, if there's any kind of elevation to it.
Yeah, a lot of people who have a sloped driveway and have studs, they also have gouges in their pavement from trying to get up their driveway if it's slippery, with the tires spinning on the ice and digging down through to the pavement. You can see, I've seen many driveways and roadways like that as well. You also mentioned about the ruts in the Outer Ring Road. I'm assuming that the studs do have some effect, but there's more cars without studs than there is with studs. So I would assume it's just a heavy amount of traffic and riding over the same patch of pavement on a continual basis, especially when it gets warm and the pavement heats up. No doubt that has some effect on tires being able to indent the roadway in the section where the tires are riding over. Unfortunately, on the Outer Ring Road, the section between Topsail Road and Thorburn Road, there's such a long stretch that's an incline or decline, depending which way you're going. It just creates little two river channels coming down each one when there's heavy rain. And if you look at the center guardrail, the guardrail is so bent up in the middle. It looks like a zigzag as opposed to a straight line due to the number of cars that have gone off the road and hitting the guardrail. Now, whether it's due to icy conditions or the ruts in the road with rain, I don't know the stats on that, but you can certainly see how that guardrail has prevented a lot of people from going down what used to be a dip and then people coming down the dip and then the cars overturning. So I remember back when a lady was killed on that highway, Premier Danny Williams at the time, right away had the dip filled in and the guardrail put up, and no doubt that has probably saved many lives from people having to, but cars hitting the guardrail versus going into the other lane, or the car ending up upside down in the ditch because of the dip that was there before.
Yeah, the early days of the Outer Ring Road saw some horrific incidents up there, and of course the guardrails, I think you're right, have made a huge difference. I remember seeing back in the day a vehicle losing control. I think it was a hydroplaning situation, went through the median and landed up on top of an oncoming vehicle in the other lane, and it was a dangerous situation. And of course you're right. People have said over the years the studded tires contribute to it, but they're just one thing when it comes to the Outer Ring Road. It is a massively used piece of road. There's heavy traffic on it just about all the time now. Back when it was designed, of course, it seemed like a big road way out there. Who's using it? Everybody's using it now, and makes you wonder if there shouldn't be a couple more lanes in different areas to make it safer, coming from Topsail Road up towards Thorburn Road, coming from Thorburn Road back down to the Paradise interchange there, of course, as well. The heavy traffic, also the heavy weight of the traffic, the number of trucks that are driving over it, all of that contributes to it. And of course, you're right, with the slope and the water that runs down there. And of course, water will find a way. There's not much more powerful on the planet than water. And of course, if there's a steady stream, depending on the weather and the time of the year, it can contribute to the ruts as well. So not so much always studded tires, but the studded tire debate is still an interesting one.
Yeah, this, I guess, could bring to the next topic would be the quality of the pavement. And recycled tires that are being dumped there next to Kento, has there been any research done locally, or has anybody tried using the chipped up used tires mixed in with the asphalt to make the pavement a little more flexible or something? I mean, I've heard other countries or other provinces are doing this, and I saw a post not too long ago on Facebook. A lot of people commenting on all this, chipped up tires are being used as landfill right there on the side of the road next to Kento, and I thought that would be an environmental hazard, having all that tires, put into the landfill, but apparently it's approved of being used.
Yeah, it's an approved aggregate now, I understand. The question for roads is really good. I was talking to somebody in the industry that talked about culvert installation and thought that shredded tires would be a great aggregate to put over top of culverts when they're installed to give them a sort of a soft buffer between the type of soils that you put over top. And there's a way that they do that so that you don't have hard, heavy rocks sitting right on the culvert, that it's layered. And they thought that the aggregate from recycled tires would be a great addition to that. It would give like another level of softness above the culvert, and of course allowing the culvert life to be extended, and that's a possibility as well. But yes, it is an approved aggregate. Could it be used in road work? I'm not sure why not, but what the effect of it may be, there may be somebody that's out there in the asphalt business that would say this is why or why not, or maybe it's just a matter of the technology to incorporate it into the road. Maybe we haven't gotten there yet. I'm not sure, but if it's happening in other provinces, it probably could happen here as well. And of course, we understand that there's lots of shredded tires to be disposed of.
Yeah. Other provinces would have, more traffic, heavier traffic, and weight-wise, and also more extreme weather conditions when it comes to extreme heat and extreme cold. And if adding rubber tires to a mixture of asphalt works there, then there's no reason why it wouldn't work here. You just need to find out what the mixture ratio would be.
No, absolutely. So thank you for your call, Ross, this morning. A couple of very interesting subjects for sure. It's time for me to go to break. Appreciate you calling in. You take care. We're going to go to break. We'll be back on Open Line now in just a couple of moments.
I'll talk to you later. Bye.
Okay, Dave, yeah, we're here. Okay, sorry about that. We're going to break now. Back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and we're having a great Friday morning here. And this morning we're going to go next to line 2, and we have Barry on line 2. Barry, welcome to Open Line.
Thank you for taking my call. I got some comments to make on the food fishery. First thing I'm going to say is I get all the fish that I want now. It's not about getting more fish. It's about the freedom to go and get it when I want to get it, and when weather conditions are at their best. That's all I'm asking for. And the food fishery is important to Newfoundlanders. I don't know why the government, DFO, is so strict on the management of the food fishery. I heard Joanne Thompson saying she got to look at the science. It's not the science she needs to look at. It's a little bit of mathematics. I crunched a few numbers. I estimated, we got 500,000 people here in the province, roughly. If 50,000 takes part in the food fishery, and I don't know if there's any more than that, I doubt it, but say there is 50,000. And if they goes out for 30 of the 39 days, which that don't happen, and if they gets their 5 fish every day, that's 50,000 people getting 5 fish a day is 150 fish per person. And if you multiply that, the 150 times the 50,000 is 7.5 million fish. The equivalent, a few years ago, they estimated the RPCO population to be between 7 and 8 million. It's the equivalent of every seal taking 1 cod a year. And there's no concern about what the seals are taking. So why are they down on the food fishery the way they are? And again, everyone in Newfoundland don't eat fish. It's I don't know what the percentage would be that eats fish, and there's only 500,000 of us there. So how much fish can we eat? If we eat fish every day, if every Newfoundlander eat fish every day, it probably wouldn't be as much as the seals are taking.
Well,
that's not happening.
Well, that's always a great argument, but I always wondered, with regards to this one, because it was insult to injury, I think, for a lot of years now, since the closure in '92, the recovery to some degree, and the reintroduction of the commercial fishery a few years back, limited, of course, but limiting people just seemed to me to be, a strange way of getting Newfoundland and Labrador back to some semblance of its history and its culture with regards to its historical attachment to the fishery, that you'd think in the first instance you would allow people to be able to go out, get their cod, do it in a safe manner, give them the latitude with regards to timing to be able to do it, not force people to cram into boats and to try to get as much as they can in a short period of time. That doesn't do anyone any good. And this belief that they have, it seems to be a belief that they've had for years, is that if we open it the way people want it opened, they'll clean it dry and there'll be none left. And it couldn't be any more ludicrous an argument than that. I've never heard them make it, but I'm only assuming that somebody is saying, oh, this is going to have an absolutely negative effect on the stocks. I can't see that. If that were the case, they'd be on about the seals a little more than they are, just like you mentioned.
I don't think it's going to have a negative effect on the stock, because most people get what fish they want anyway. I'm not alone in getting just the amount I need. And another thing, out in Bonavista Bay, I don't know, I can't speak for other places in the province, but in Bonavista Bay, the first coming of the fish is bigger fish. So you don't need to take as many to get enough fish for what you need. So how's that conservation when you can only take 5 and to string it out, and between the bad weather and everything else, so you ends up towards the end of the season, the fish are smaller, so then you need more.
Yeah.
I put my boat in the water, and once I get my fish, I'll probably take the boat up, then I'm finished then.
Yeah, and there will be those fellows that take people out on a continuous basis, but even then, Barry, we're not wiping the fish out of the sea. If there's enough fish there for a commercial fishery, there's enough fish there for people to put some in their freezer.
Exactly. How much fish can we eat? It's only 500,000 people here.
Exactly right. And I think we have provisions already. Don't we have provisions already for tourist operators?
Yeah. I'm going to tell you something else now. There's a Land and Sea, it's an old Land and Sea show on YouTube. It was filmed down on the Burin Peninsula. I think it was Lord's Cove. They went out there when the trap fish, that was before the moratorium. They went out there while the trap fishery was on the go, and they did some filming out on the trap, and they come in, and so they went back in the fall when the trap season was over, and two of the owners of the enterprise was the only two left fishing in the same boat they used for the trapping, and they were using traws, long lines. Now, a line of trawl, you got approximately 70 hooks. That's what's used on a line of trawl. Well, that's what was used around here, because I've used it myself. There's approximately 70 hooks on a line of trawl. So they went out with the two men on the trawl, and they asked them questions and everything. So they asked, how much trawl do you use? And they said, between 40 and 50 lines of trawl. And when I saw that, I thought about it. And that's all baited hooks. That is the equivalent of, you're looking at around 3,000 hooks. That is the equivalent of 1,000 boats going out in the food fishery with 3 people in a boat, each putting a hook in the water.
Yeah. So there's no correlation to what was happening and what we're talking about now.
And this is most people goes out now in the food fishery, they're putting a bare hook in the water.
Yeah.
They were putting baited hook in the water.
Right.
So I don't get it. Like I said, all I want to do is use my own time when I want to go fishing.
The other thing that was brought up,
fish.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And Barry, one of the things that was brought up to me this week after a few calls about the food fishery is that the assumption of, and you talk about how many people are in the province, whether there's 550 or 540,000, however many people there are.
Yeah.
Some of them children, some of them unable to get out as well for some of the seniors and people with mobility challenges. But the cost of doing it, right?
Yes.
I don't have a boat. I don't have any fishing gear. I don't have anything to be able to go out and catch 5 cod, 10 cod, or 0 cod. I have none of that. So I would be the type of person that would depend on a buddy or a relative and so forth. And a lot has changed. A lot has changed since even the 90s, that more people are further away from jigging a cod or catching a cod or hooking a cod, whatever you're permitted to do these days. And they're further away from it. It doesn't even cross their mind to even think about bothering to do it.
That's right.
So when you talk about how many people there are in this province, how many of them really during a cod fishing, a food fishery, a resident fishery would actually go out and get a few fish? And you couldn't even the people that go out multiple times wouldn't even add up to the number of people in this province.
And they're saying about people would go out bringing in a lot of fish if there was no limitation. But what are they going to do with the fish? There's no one going to catch some fish and bringing it in and fill it and put it in the freezer for the throw out. They're only going to they're going to get what they need.
I know any fish that goes into my freezer doesn't get thrown out. It gets cooked one way or the other, and at the end of the day, if it's got to go into a stew, that's where it ends up. But it gets eaten, that's for sure.
Yeah, and another thing is, when you only can get 5 fish, you got to make more trips, you burn more gas. A federal government that wants us to cut back on our use of oil and gas, and even put a carbon tax to deter us, and then have a policy that requires us to make more trips to burn more gas and make our fish more expensive.
And away we go. Thank you very much, Barry. I've got to go to break. It is coming hard upon 10 o'clock with the newscast. So thank you very much for your thoughts on the food fishery, Barry. You take care. Hope you have a great summer, and I hope you get your few fish. Yeah, and we're gonna go to break. Take care, and Dave,
right.
Take it away.
All right. Well, thanks for taking my call.
No problem.
Oh, yeah. Bye-bye.
Welcome back to Open Line, and happy Friday morning to you. I'm your host, Darren Bent, sitting in this week, and we're almost to the end of the week as it is Friday morning, and I have on line 3 longtime oil and gas advocate and knows just about everything that's come and gone in the oil industry before Hibernia and since, Rob Strong. Rob, welcome to Open Line.
Pretty flattering introduction. I don't know if I know it all by any means, but
well, you've seen it all, Rob. You may not remember it all. That's the thing. Hey,
that's the problem. And you're not too bad yourself. The last time I saw you, we were chatting at the oil show in Houston, as I recall.
Yes, we were. We were down there as part of the Newfoundland group of companies and the province and all of that down at the Houston Oil Show there, and an incredible show. All the big players, a lot of the players that are set up in our province now were there, of course, and so it's a great way to meet the people that are big players in the world, but it's also a great way for the Newfoundland industry itself to get together and chat and learn more about what's being offered by companies here that can help other companies here, and a lot of that is the big part of it, isn't it, Rob?
Exactly, and when I look at in your particular town, city, Mount Pearl, when I look at the
Conception Bay South, Rob,
I'm gonna oil and gas infrastructure that's happening in the Mount Pearl area.
No, Rob, I'm going to cut you off. Conception Bay South, brother.
Oh, I'm so
no.
Oh my God!
You're on a short.
Forgive me.
Yeah, you're on a short leash now. I can tell you. You go ahead.
I'm sorry. My apologies. However, there are some activities out around Fowler's Road area. There's a massive pipe yard out there. There's massive warehouse, and there's some things happening in Long Pond. So certainly it's affecting your town as well.
Yeah, I think the supply for Terra Nova is happening out of Long Pond now, Rob.
That's right. There's supply vessels running in and out of there on a regular basis. I think there's 2 supply boats a week, so it's a good start. And there's also there's a bid document, or there will be a bid document soon for the Beta Nord supply base, and I think there's some companies probably looking at your area as well. So anyway, Darren, I tell you what prompted my call this morning. I flicked on as I do every morning, the Calgary Herald newspaper, and as you know, and your listeners know, Calgary is probably the center of the Canadian oil and gas industry. And I go to the business section, and the first item I see is an article about Tim Houston, who is the Premier of Nova Scotia, being out there talking about Nova Scotia. And then the second article I read, and I'm just going to pull it up here now in a minute. Here is the article about Nova Scotia saying, quote, "We have the resources in Canada. Nova Scotia is promoting development during pivotal moment for oil and gas." And this is indeed a pivotal moment for oil and gas when you consider what's going on in Iran and the whole impact it has in the Persian Gulf and the impact it has on OPEC, which produces about 25 million barrels of the 100 million barrels of oil a day that the world produces. OPEC is somewhere around 20 million barrels, with Saudi being the big one. So there's a lot of political instability right now, and so where should the oil industry look? They should look to Canada. And everything I read, I hear about the interest from Western Canada. I hear about Calgary, and I hear about Edmonton. I hear about LNG in BC, and I don't hear a lot about East Coast of Canada. And yet, here in Newfoundland, I think the last time I looked, we're looking at potentially, and I say potentially, but we have about 37 billion barrels of, and this is interesting, of undiscovered oil and gas potential. And of course, what that means, Darren, is that there's a lot of seismic shot, and they have a good interpretation of what the rocks look like, the age looks like. So they have a good estimate that we have, as I say, 36 billion or 37 billion barrels of oil. So my question to myself and to anybody that's listening, and particularly my friends in government, is how do we get at that? I mean, you can't produce it if you can't find it, and you can't find it if you don't drill it. So how do we do a better job of attracting oil companies to come to offshore Newfoundland? We know we have the oil. There's been a significant change in attitude out of Ottawa with the Carney government, talking about a sort of a can-do attitude. The emission caps mystery, or the uncertainty attached to the amount of emissions we might be allowed to admit, that's changed. So how do we, as a province, compete, as we have to compete in the global context, compete with what I call the low-hanging fruit, the Guyanas of the world, and the Namibias, and Gulf of Mexico and Brazil, the hot spots. How do we compete? We know we've had no response to land sales in the last 3 years, but do we know why? And I think it's time for somebody, maybe a good, powerful international firm, to be hired by Newfoundland to go and talk to the oil companies, take the top 20 oil companies in the world and say, hey guys, Newfoundland's got potentially 36 billion barrels of oil and a lot of natural gas. Why didn't you offer to bid on those lands? And just for your audience purposes, it's not a cash bid. When oil companies are asked to bid, they're asked to commit to expend X number of dollars over a 5-year period. So it's not a cash bid. But so once we understand why they didn't, and then we also have to educate, because it's a big deal for you and I here in Newfoundland. But if I'm Exxon or Chevron or Hess or Texaco or or any of the major oil companies. I don't know about these changes going on in Newfoundland. So how do we educate the industry about our potential and the changes? We're a very stable country, and certainly compared to Iran, Iraq, Kuwait, Saudi, Emirates, Dubai, and those areas. So we're very stable. We're reasonably close to Western Europe market. And we've got this complete change of attitude from the previous government to this government. So my question, or my suggestion, not that anybody.
I think it's probably more of a challenge, Rob. It's a challenge to us to make the most of our untapped potential off the coast and here in land and Newfoundland and Labrador, and say to government that is here and make that same argument with the federal government. And I believe that I heard recently that Premier VOCM and a delegation, I guess, of sorts, was in Texas talking to oil people, probably to find out what the state of everything is as well. So that's absolutely something to build on, isn't it?
I'm delighted to hear that Minister Parrott and the Premier were down in Houston at the SERI conference. That's a wonderful conference. It gets about 10,000 people. It's not quite as big as OTC, but it's a different type of conference. And that's where the movers and the shakers of the oil industry are. But we can't stop there. We should, as I say, we should get an understanding of how the global oil industry thinks about Newfoundland and Canada in generally, but Newfoundland specifically. And once we know what their perceptions are, then we can go about correcting any misconceptions that exist, or we can go about changing. I mean, the government's got $60 million set aside for exploration attractions, so use some of that and get a good, well-established international firm to knock on doors and say, "Hey guys, we're representing Newfoundland. Why haven't you been there in the last 3 years? What's it going to take to get you back there?" And then develop a marketing strategy and move from there. Because we've got maybe 30, 40 years of depending who you believe, 30 or 40 years of peak oil, or oil around 100 million barrels a day. So let's move and move quickly. So
yeah, let's not sit back on our laurels and sip the tea that we have in front of us. Let's get ready for another pot. That's for sure. Rob, thank you very much. I got to go to break. Sage advice as well, and I'm not sure if you're going to OTC. I think that's coming up shortly, isn't it? But if you do, all the best. And it's great talking with you this morning.
Great talking to you, Brian. Take care.
All right, Rob. Take care. Dave,
Bye-bye.
We'll go to break and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes. Welcome back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and we're going to go to line one, and we have Connie on line one. Welcome to Open Line, Connie.
Good morning, Darren. Thank you very much.
Thank you for holding on for us. How can we help you this morning?
I'm a member of the Food Fishers Committee, and our group has sent out a media release just this morning noting that the federal government has finally acknowledged that our food fishery is not a recreational fishery, and that to us is a big win. To get that acknowledgement that it's not a recreational item or discussion. And we'd also like to let everyone know that we have also secured a meeting next week with the minister. As to the particulars, we will be making our case to extend the season and the bag count. And we just like to send out a heartfelt thank you to everyone supporting our cause, our Facebook group, all the listeners, and the food fishers all along our coasts and within our communities. They're all behind us, and we're very, very grateful, and we're making some headway here, we believe.
Do you think this is the year, Connie, after all this time, after all this lobbying and concerns and what have you over the years, do you think that this is your best chance to actually get a change in how the food fishery is managed?
I do, and when I jumped in to join the group, it was on the tails of all of the food security, insecurity, like it's a crisis that's here. And you see it in our seniors mostly, and these are the people that the food fishery is feeding the most, I would think, like the coastal, smaller community people that are not close to a lot of the resources or food banks and things like that are available in the cities that are not available out around the coast. So with the food issue being a crisis all across the country, it's now or never for us, I believe. And then the cod stocks looking healthy. I don't see any reason not to open it up for us. And, just to keep our culture. Our culture here is something we're all very proud of. And all other cultures and things, it's our own culture that's suffering. We welcome other cultures into our province, and we shouldn't be letting our own culture disappear.
Yeah, you hear about food security. We hear a lot about backyard chickens and all kinds of different things like that, more gardens, raised beds, and so forth. All of this to make food more accessible, food production a little easier, and allow people to help take care of themselves as much as they possibly can. And you can go right back to day one of this province, and fish would have been the first choice of any of them. And here we are this far down the road, and it's become a bit of a I don't know, it's almost silly in a way compared to other provinces, but to not be able to have a reasonable time frame, a safe time frame for people to continue with cultural, you can call it a right or not a right, whatever you want to call it, but to limit it in ways that makes people feel uneasy about being part of it, forces people into situations where they're making decisions that may not be the best for them, given the conditions sometimes because of the limited resource. And, and I'm sure, Connie, there's people out there that have families and parents and grandparents and so forth that feel obligated that they got to make that effort, to help them get that, those few fish in, and puts them in an awkward position for sure.
It does, and out of curiosity, I was looking into what our population was, and I listened to Barry that was on there earlier from Bonavista Bay, and 1992, pre-moratorium, our population was 577,000 people. Now we're at about the 548 mark, and it makes you wonder, out of that 548, there's been so much movement into the city of St. John's from along the coast of Newfoundland. There's likely not near as many people wanting to go out and fish.
There wouldn't be. But we're 30 years down the road, more than 30, almost 35 years down the road from the moratorium, and things have changed. Demographics have changed. More people here that have moved here from elsewhere that don't see the fishery as part of their culture and so forth. So going out in a boat and getting a few fish, it doesn't mean anything much to them. Although I'm sure most people enjoy the feed of fish, whether they have ever done it before or not. But the province has changed, and you're not going to get as many people that have been willing to go out and get those fish right out the mark today as you would have in 1992. So the numbers are lower, and absolutely. So the harm is it would be obviously reduced harm now from when all this thinking started back in the 90s and 2000s about the food fishery.
Yes, agree 100%.
Anyway,
so we'd like to end off this week on a high note that we've as much as we can. We're taking the little wins as we go. So we've got the food recognition that we wanted, and we've lined up a meeting for next week with the minister.
Yeah, and the minister has come out yesterday here on VOCM and said basically that the survey that was done, and the survey didn't tell you anything you didn't know. The survey that was done would have a significant.
What we already know.
The significant impact on the decision that's going to be made in the next few weeks, and of course that's going to be balanced with science. But I don't know. I just get a sense that something different is going to happen this year, and I could be wrong, no doubt. If I could predict stuff, I'd be rich off of the hockey games, and I can't even predict them from one night to the next. So we'll see. But you guys having
that you're right.
Yeah, there you go. So you got your meeting with the federal minister, Connie. I hope somebody from the group calls us back after the meeting to let us know how it went.
Absolutely. Thank you.
You have a great day, a great weekend. We're going to go to break now, Dave. 10:30. We'll be back here on Open Line in just a few minutes. Welcome back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent. A little slow off the mark there, but we're going to get into it again right now with, I think I have line 4, Johnny. You're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Darren. My name is Johnny. First-time caller. I'm nervous, of course. So I just had a couple of quick topics there, but my main one was I'm coming up to recently to retire. And over the years, I've been totally ignorant towards basically computers and telephones, really, or not telephones, but handphones, right? I was just wondering if there was any kind of a course that, you or your listeners would know that, could help out people. Because I'm sure, and I'm after hearing on the Open Line quite often, people that are unaware or not knowing how to use even the parking meters today, right? So I was just wondering if there was anyone even, on an hourly basis, privately, or any kind of a course that could help me in particular, but I'm sure there's others, but
I'm going to say this, I guess a little tongue-in-cheek, I suppose, but I envy you, Johnny, not being involved in these machinery and so forth so much. But, so look, there is a fantastic organization here in the province called Seniors NL. And Seniors NL... Yeah, are you there?
Oh, yes, I said I'm familiar with that Seniors NL. Yeah.
Right, so they have access to all kinds of resources. They can hook you up with whatever courses are on the go. There are some community organizations that help sponsor and offer courses for seniors, basic stuff to get you in, the door on how to use this and how this works and all that sort of stuff. And a great organization. They should be able to help you. They should be the first people that can help you, Seniors NL. There are some of the schools around Kean College, places like that do offer basic courses, nighttime courses in person as well, which is something you're probably looking for because you got to learn how to go online before you can go online and take a course, right?
Exactly, yep.
Yep. So I know there's lots of stuff like that, but I would make my first call down to Seniors NL. Do you want the number? I can give you the number.
Sure, if you don't mind.
Yeah, so it's the 709, of course, and it's 737.
Yep.
737-2333.
2-3. That's pretty easy to remember.
Yeah, and are you in the metro area? Because there's a long distance number as well if you want that.
I'm in Paradise.
Oh yeah, you're close enough for that number to work. You reach out to them, and I'm not sure where their office is, but I know that they're somewhere here in St. John's, or certainly they used to be. But they do some great stuff. Outreach. They have the ability to connect you with outreach programs and so forth. But actually, I see that they're down on Topsail Road, 243 Topsail Road. So,
okay.
Yeah, so, they're a great resource. They can hook you up with that. And anybody out there listening that is looking to do something like this, to give it a try. And look, never be afraid to try something new.
No.
I just started one of those AI basics courses a few weeks ago with Kian, and it's opened my eyes quite wide on some of the things that this AI can do, and some of the things that you can get it to do for you. So, you know, anything, but they can get you sorted out right quick for sure.
Well, that sounds wonderful, Johnny. I just want to touch quickly on the second one that I had. And that has to do with these scooters and little motorized bikes, and even another little holograph or whatever they are now that don't have nothing, just two wheels on them. I heard you talk about it there a couple of weeks ago. I'm always listening to Open Mind in the mornings when I can, or in the evenings. But anyway, I heard you talk about it because it was a close incident where somebody almost or did get hit and not got hurt. But I was just wondering, it's so much of it that I see. I don't know why they wait for somebody to get hurt for they do more about what is happening with it. It's coming up to spring now, or summer, hopefully, and I personally see so much of it. Somebody got to be accountable for these young kids in particular. Now, I don't take it on them. It's just that somebody is paying for these motorized vehicles. Shouldn't there be some kind of a thing towards more? Because I see myself and my wife were driving in the Topsail there last year, and I see there was three of them there, but two in particular, coming down Topsail Hill, and two of them had one leg put out, hooked into one another. No lights. Now, it was only evening, it wasn't dark, but still, I mean, that's happening. You know, boys will be boys, or whoever the case. But, you know, like I said, once somebody gets hurt or worse, then they'll look into it and do something about it. I was just wondering if, we can have more
Johnny,
insight on it.
You're into it now, I can tell you, because this is a big issue and it's a big concern for everybody. And, of course, you take yourself, you're driving down the road, you're doing everything right, and then you come across something like this, and then now you're frightened to death that something may happen in front of you. You may end up hurting somebody, and then you've got to live with that as well. And, of course, whatever happens to the person that you've hurt, how they're going to live with it. So, parents, number one.
Yes.
Parents, number one, because these kids aren't going out and buying them on their own, and nobody knows that they got them. It's absolutely paramount that parents instill the safety, with the children, the young people, and all that. But you know what it's like. You said it. Boys will be boys. Whatever, kids will be kids.
Yes, I can't take that on even girls.
And they get kids will be kids. And once they get out of the sight, then they're gonna push the boundaries and all of that. But even when it comes to some of these semi-powered sort of machines, I see the scooters that are going along the sidewalk. They're flying, and I'm thinking to myself, I'd be scared to death of that. And then I keep a close eye because I'm worried they're going to hit a rock and topple over and fall out in front of me.
That's what I was talking about with these two kids last fall.
Yeah.
They were on these scooters, motorized. Right?
Yep.
And like I said, again, I live in the Paradise area, and I see someone this year coming down to Paradise Hill towards, say, Topsail, and there was a young fella. Now, he was doing everything right, but he was staying with the traffic. Coming down the hill, he stopped with the traffic got their light and went, and next thing he goes down over Topsail Road, coming on the evening. He had his helmet on, lights on his scooter and everything like that. But, I mean, is that supposed to be on the road?
Yeah, and that's a good question. And I understand from the last time I talked to somebody about it that would know, is that there's no real rules on a lot of these things. The biggest rules we always used to deal with years ago was how, you got to wear a helmet on a bicycle and all that sort of thing.
Right,
and that became an actual
rule?
rule in St. John's, I know, and probably most municipalities around. But these, if they go out with a helmet on, are they free to do whatever it is they want to do? I don't know, but it seems like it, it's difficult for police, I'm sure, if there's no rules.
Yes,
what are they
exactly.
What are they going to do?
I don't even know, Darren, if the scooters had to wear helmets.
Yeah.
That was a controversy a while back as well.
Yeah.
I know the bicycles, pedal bikes does. It's a rule, but the scooters, I don't even know if that's a rule there.
Yeah, and you juxtapose that to the off-road vehicle rules, where you got to have seatbelts and helmets and insurance and licenses and all kinds of different things. And those vehicles are much larger, easier to see, and but these are flying along. They're small, and it's tough. It's tough enough. It's tough enough. I spent a bit of time on a motorcycle, and I can tell you that you're not necessarily a small vehicle out there, but not everybody sees you. They may be looking right back when you're coming along, and they don't actually see. It seems like they don't see you, and they pull right out, and you got to be ready for that. But when you're older and you're driving on the highway or the road with a motorcycle, you're much more aware of that.
Exactly.
At 12,
and your speed is down.
At 12, 13,
you're more intelligent, more. Right. Anyway, the point being is, like I said, it's unfortunate that they're going to wait, and it will. I'm sure it's a godsend that somebody's going to get hurt, and unfortunately, they will try to do something. I'm sure. It's just they have to wait so long for it. That's all my thing is, right? Like I said, children will be children. You can't take that.
Yeah, and there's more and more of them out there, and one of the ones I know that
and
was
more kinds as well. Like I said,
a couple of years ago,
I don't know what they are. There's only a few of them here, but there's just two wheels on them and they're motorized. But you got to know how to do it.
Right.
And
they're buying them somewhere.
They're very tricky little things, but I tell you, I see people on them pretty good.
Yeah.
Right?
The one that used to get me was those makeshift motorized bicycles that sounded like a chainsaw going up the road.
Yep. Yeah. That's right. And that's exactly what they sound like as well, yeah? You got your window down, you hear it. It's just like someone got a chainsaw going by you.
Yeah, no doubt. Well, look, I'm sure you're going to spur some calls on this. It's an issue, I think, everywhere. You have to look to the province. Even in some cases, municipalities with regards to them. But for municipalities, of course, the problem is enforcement. And with the province, of course, they have the RNC and the RCMP, so they have a bigger stick to wield. But anyways, Johnny, thanks for your call this morning.
I appreciate that. My first time calling, and I hope I can touch in with the seniors NL. So I appreciate that, and I appreciate your show, and you're doing a wonderful job, Darren.
Well, Johnny, I'm first time hosting. You're first time calling, and you're the first caller I've had say you're a first time caller. So welcome. Thank you very much. I'm going to turn it over to Dave now. Dave, you can take us to break. We'll be back in a couple minutes. Welcome back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and we're going to line 2. Tara. Tara, you're on the air. Good morning.
Good morning, Darren, and welcome to VOCM.
Oh, well, thank you.
I just want to express some, I don't know necessarily if it's frustration, but some, I don't know. My husband was sent over to a healthcare facility in St. John's last night. He was supposed to go by an ambulance. He opted out of that. The doctor here on Belle Island agreed that I could drive, so that was fine. We arrived at this healthcare facility at 11:45 last night, and it's busy. I've seen it busier. But Darren, the problem is there are a number of things, actually, and I'll try to go through this really quickly. There was a number of homeless people, and it was actually confirmed that they are homeless people by one of the security guards. Laying across the chairs. One person in particular came in, loaded drunk, throwing up all over the place, throwing up in the garbage bin. People are at this healthcare facility because they're unwell, not to be dealing with this. A young girl came in. She had a seizure and fell to the floor. A couple of nurses came out, picked her up and put her back up on the chair in the waiting room. Now, this has nothing to do with frustration with the nurses or the doctors. This is a government problem, and they need to fix it before people die in this province needlessly. Another lady, a senior lady, this girl had a second seizure 3 minutes later. I had to run and get a nurse to come and pick her up off the floor yet again. They finally put her on the stretcher. There's a senior lady. She was there with pneumonia, darn near 24 hours. She had her ribs sore. Her back was sore. She was coughing so much. There was a gentleman there, Darren, who was in the midst of a heart attack. They had to bring him into triage every 3 hours to continue to monitor his blood. But where did he sit? In the waiting room. Another gentleman was there. He was bleeding from his legs, and he was telling everybody that he was told to clean his own legs out in the waiting room. He was told not to do it there for sanitary purposes, of course, and was told to move down the hall. And he's sitting there in a pool of blood on his feet. This is absolutely deplorable. My husband went over with a possible appendicitis or bowel issue, and he was given a note from the emergency room physician here on Bell Island that had no bearing on anything. It wouldn't have even made a difference if he would have been sent over by an ambulance, because there had to have been a 30 in the time frame we were there. These poor paramedics having to sit with patients because nobody could see them. So it's a domino effect, Darren, not only within the healthcare facility, but it's affecting paramedics. It's affecting another emergency that could come through with paramedics being held up in the healthcare facility. And the conditions were absolutely deplorable. There was garbage everywhere. The garbage can that this girl was throwing up in was left in the hallway. It was still left there when I left this morning. There was pee on the floor by the garbage can, Tim Hortons cups and trash underneath the seats. It was absolutely deplorable and disgusting. And to triage your patients, send them out in the waiting room, and not even give them a bracelet. I had to go and ask for my husband's bracelet because they forgot to give it to him in triage. There's a serious problem here for our nurses and our doctors. They're being overrun, and they're not being taken care of. This province needs more. We need more of our own. People are going to die needlessly with serious conditions. A non-urgent case is 12 to 16-hour wait. An urgent case, which would be, I guess, classified as heart, appendicitis, these types of things, stroke, is 10 to 12 hours.
Yeah,
so coming in with a heart attack, their heart's not going to wait until the doctor's ready to see them.
I'm not even sure that appendicitis is non-urgent, because your appendix can burst and start poisoning you right away if it's serious enough. Now, of course, hopefully they would find that in triage and be able to take somebody in. But however, 100% Tara, I bet you there's nobody in the earshot of this show that has been over there for a 12-hour period, especially in the evening, that has not seen at least some version of what you and your husband experienced. Sometimes it's a gong show. And I want to be clear, this is not about the healthcare professionals, the people and the staff that are over there. They are doing yeoman service. They are doing a tremendous job. It's just that the job is bigger than them sometimes. And resources, maybe a better intake system, so you can separate things out a little bit for different types of care and so forth. Hopefully that's what's happening or planning to happen in the new model that's being unveiled over the next while, and the new urgent care facilities and so forth, to take some of that burden off there. But when you've got somebody, I think the last time I was over there, I was 12 hours, I believe. Long time to be over there, but I'm stubborn enough. I was going to wait just to see how long it took after a while. I think I got to 6 hours. I think the last 6 hours I said, I'm staying, I'm not leaving. I'm going to wait and see how long it takes. But, of course, during that time, there were some urgent cases that came in. I understand that the staffing and so forth. But I think you're 100% right. I think that, there needs to be some realignment over there. I'm hoping that they're working on that now. There's been indication under the new model, and this government seems to be keen on upgrading some of those facilities and doing things that may help with that. But do you have any confidence in what you're hearing with the urgent care facilities and having people go to other, separate out just from going to the emergency room down to health sciences?
I think that, the new hub is open, Darren. Why is it that we're, the most urgent of urgent people are still having to wait 10 plus hours to be seen? We have a hub that is meant for the non-urgent people. Now, don't get me wrong. I'm not downgrading, anybody for the urgency of the reason that they show up at an emergency room. To them, it could be an emergency. And, it just seems that it does not matter which hospital you go, because I called the other facility as well. And a nurse told me that they had just called in a patient that was there since 10 o'clock in the morning. And this was at 11 o'clock at night. So, both healthcare facilities are all three are overrun. And listen, when I say homeless, I'm not downing them. These are people, and they're precious, no different than you and I. But a hospital is not a place for them to lay their head when you have vulnerable, sick people who are there for a reason for treatment. They have to do something with these people that are homeless, Darren. You cannot allow them to be in our hospital throwing up everywhere, peeing everywhere. That's a sanitation issue, and it's sad. It's
and it's part of the intake situation as well, and the staffing levels that have been afforded to the hospitals to have people, move to where they need to be and getting the help that they need in a timely manner. That if that was happening, then you wouldn't see what you're seeing for sure.
Absolutely.
But yeah, I've been there. I've seen some odd things, and people in desperate need, and I've seen people in the waiting room, that seem to be in great pain or agony, waiting a long time, which exacerbates their situation as well. And of course, one of the things that I've seen people suffer from on top of their ailment that's brought them there in the first place, and believe me, it's a task to just get there. I mean, if you're not feeling well and you've got to go to emergency, just to get yourself out and get yourself there, the fatigue of waiting for hour upon hour upon hour really exacerbates people. It's not good for them physically, not good for them mentally in any way, shape, or form. Tara, do you want to have a final say before we let you go and go to break?
Just one more quick thing. I think it would be worthwhile for, the people, at the top to. We have a Bell Island Hospital here. Why is it that we don't have, one CT machine or an MRI machine, a couple dialysis machines, and because we have a top-notch hospital here on the island with some fantastic nurses. And I'm not saying, in St. John's they're not fantastic. They are. But again, Bell Island people and these rural communities are having to flock to the city to these healthcare facilities. And when we have a hospital here, we should be able to avail of all these amenities and these extra services here on the island.
Yeah, absolutely, and that would alleviate the issues for the folks on Bell Island. Probably wouldn't do a whole lot for the people that have to go to the facilities anyway. But I thank you, and I appreciate your point. And let's make the most of the facilities that we absolutely do have around the province. Thank you, Tara, for raising this. Hopefully, something will change over the next while. We'll see. We'll be watching. But I'm going to break now. Dave, you can take it away.
You're listening to a rebroadcast of VOCM Open Line. Have your say by calling 709-273-5211 or 1-888-590-8626 and listen live weekday mornings at 9 a.m.
Welcome back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and we're going to go to line 6 where we have Colin. Colin, welcome to Open Line. Good morning.
Good morning, Mr. Bent. How are you today?
Not bad, sir. What are you on about this morning?
I want to talk about the Dean Penny murder trial, not the particulars of what's going on in the court. That's for the justice system to determine. But I want to talk about the delays that have taken place in getting him from the remand center where he is currently located to be physically present in court for his trial. There have been some delays due to staffing shortages by the sheriff's office, and I find that to be unconscionable, that a man who's facing a first-degree murder trial that's been charged with first-degree murder in the alleged murder of his wife has been on remand now since December of 2023, 28 months and counting, cannot be taken to court from the remand center to the courthouse to have his constitutionally guaranteed right to a trial. That there's delays with scheduling issues and staff shortages and things like that. I find that to be unconscionable. That man has been held, as I said, for 28 months now. He's presumed innocent of that charge. He has the right to a trial, and he has the right to be physically present in court. It is incumbent upon the government of Newfoundland and Labrador to ensure that he is in court for his trial every day that the trial is scheduled. The jury is there, the Crown attorneys are there, the defense counsel are there, the judge is there. Why is it that he cannot be brought into court?
Yeah, so there's been all kinds of different things there. And right off the top of my head, and I've sat through a lot of trials over the years, is that, well, number one, the accused, nothing can happen in the absence of the accused.
That's right.
And, of course, if there's something medical or something untoward that's happened in the middle of all of that, then their lawyer can be allowed to represent the accused in the absence of the accused. But nothing can happen generally in a trial with the absence of the accused. So whether they're online or whether they're in person, they have to be fully available and fully represented before anything. But you know what? The thing that struck me about this one, and it just seems to have come up out of the blue, that all of this is happening, or it seems to center around this, and I'm sure other trials, maybe not as serious, of course, in nature with regards to the criminal code, but other trials and other proceedings and other things must have been affected over time as well. This can't just have fallen out of the sky. And of course, a murder trial. It didn't just happen one day. Oh, we're going to have a murder trial on Monday. We'll see you Monday morning, and come in, and here we are. Well, what do we do now? Well, we got to get the guy over. The audio's got to work. Is everybody available? These things are planned for months and months and months, to make sure that everything is lined up, schedules and so forth and all of that. It just seems really odd that it's happened in this case. And I'm not sure why. Could it possibly be location? Like, could it be, since it's not happening in St. John's, that it didn't get the attention that it deserved? I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, I don't know. There's some sort of logistics problem going on there. It could be the fact that it's in Western Newfoundland, and there's large distances to travel. But it has to be remembered that, as you quite rightly point out, this has been in the pipeline now for 28 months. He was arrested and charged in December 2023. So, the trial dates were set down for, I think, the entire calendar month of April. The defense counsel and Crown counsel and the judge and all the other court participants are on a tight schedule. And if there's any delays, as Justice Collector pointed out earlier this week or last week, the Jordan clock is ticking. You're coming up against the 30-month deadline set out by the Supreme Court of Canada in the Jordan decision. And if Mr. Penny's trial goes past June of this year, and it's still not resolved, there's a very good chance that the court will end up entering judicial stay proceedings on the matter, and that's effectively an acquittal, barring an appeal by the Crown. And the most important thing is that this matter will not be aired. There will not be a trial on the merits. The public will not get to see the evidence put forward by the Crown and the defense if they decide to put forward any evidence, although they're not legally obligated. But there's an overarching public interest in seeing that this matter is set out for trial, and that all the participants in this matter, the witnesses and all the evidence for the Crown and the defense, be put on the evidentiary record, and that the public sees this taking place and sees the evidence put on the record and sees the verdict put forward by the jury, if there is a verdict, on Mr. Penny's guilt or innocence. And, justice must be done. It must be seen to be done. And when there's a delay like this, you just got to wonder, is this a systemic problem? There's a lot of murder cases going on in the province now. Is that going to have a perturbing effect on other serious criminal cases like murder, where people are remanded and they can't be brought to trial because of logistics issues like the lack of sheriff's officers and things like that? So it's very very concerning.
Well, there were a number of murder trials in the 90s. I remember that because I sat through most of them. But, one of the things that I do know is that you can get into any of these proceedings, and yes, something technical can go wrong, and delay things. A piece of equipment is broken or not working, or something happens. It could happen now. We could go off the air for any number of reasons. But,
sure.
You get that fixed and you move on with the trial, because, you ask any Crown prosecutor or any defense attorney that is involved in a big trial like this, it takes a lot of time getting your witnesses lined up, making sure they're available. I mean, most witnesses in any trial, they have busy lives besides this. You know, they're not just sitting there waiting to be a part of the trial, and they probably don't want to be part of it anyway, generally. You know, it's a seriously sad circumstance when you've got to be drawn into these things, but there you are. And then, of course, there's expert evidence that has to be called. There's exhibit evidence that has to be called. They all have to be lined up and scheduled. Police officers are taken out of their regular routines, brought in, sometimes have to spend days giving evidence in front of a jury and so forth. So, you know, there's all these things. The defense has its own set of witnesses that it may want to call. It may have rebuttal evidence that it may want to put forward. All these things have to be planned out and put in place so that these things can happen in a timely and reasonable manner. And of course, when you get I've never seen it before. In my time covering justice system, I never saw, we don't have enough staff, or we don't have the staff needed to do this or that or the other. That's something new. And you ask if it's systemic. It's somewhere in the system. Something needs to be addressed. And of course, is that the fault of anybody that's working in the system at the level? Probably not. It has nothing to do with them. It has to do with the organization of it, probably from the top and through government and the supply of people to make sure that everybody is in place that needs to be in place. But I never saw any trial delayed because of staffing issues ever. And,
You're talking about an investigation that started with the disappearance of Dean Penny's estranged wife. This is a 10-year investigation. It's costing millions of dollars. The RCMP and other police agencies have put into this, and you know, it's like I said, there's an overwhelming and overarching public interest in seeing that this trial take place, and the evidence be put on the record and a verdict be reached by a jury if they can reach one, and to have Mr. Penny's guilt or innocence determined on the merits of a trial.
100%, Colin. That's 100%. I'm going to move on right now. I'm going to get into another caller before the break, but I appreciate your call. Everything you've said is absolutely true, and we'll see how this goes. And we all need to do better in this situation and all situations when it comes to justice, because who among us doesn't know when we need to depend on it ourselves? Thank you very much, right. Colin. You take care.
Cheers.
Okay, we're going to take Mary, I believe, on line one. Mary, are you there?
I am here. Thank you.
Mary,
are you there?
Thank you for waiting.
You're welcome. I just want to send out a bouquet to Legs Garage up in Heart's Content and all his staff for all their help and concerns, for going out of their way for fixing our car for us. They are just great people.
And was there a circumstance that put you in a bad situation that the reason you're calling Open Line to thank Garage for the work they're doing?
Yes, it was, because a big guy came down himself and drove the car up for
Okay. Well, look, that service you don't get everywhere every day these days, hey?
Indeed you don't. His staff is excellent, too.
All right. Well, look at that. A bouquet for Legs out in Heart's Content. And Mary, I thank you for calling in. And we're going to go to break now. So, Dave, you take us away to break, and we'll be back in just a few moments on Open Line. And welcome back to Open Line. And we had a caller earlier, Johnny, who was looking for courses and information on how to get technology courses, computer courses, and so forth for seniors. And we gave him the Seniors NL contact as well. And somebody has sent us a note. Very true. The Newfoundland Labrador Public Library System offers all kinds of courses and house courses, and a lot of times they're free. So if Johnny, you're still there, or anybody that may be looking for a course, it's always good to start with the library group. They are very helpful in this regard. Okay, I'm going to line 3 where I have Ken. Ken, good morning.
Yes, good morning, Darren. How are you?
Not too bad. How you doing, and why are you calling?
Well, I hear you got a lot of calls here on the food fishery here, and well, I got I'm an inshore independent harvester out here in Conception Bay. The food fishery, I got nothing against it whatsoever. Don't care what Joanne Thompson does there, she gives them a week to summer the fish, good. I got nothing against that whatsoever. The problem I got is I'm a commercial fisherman. It costs me thousands of dollars every year before I can go fishing, with licenses and wharf fees and observer fees and everything else. And every year when we start at the codfish here, the crab fishery is in full swing. So the capacity at the fish plants can't handle any fish. So DFO give me a license to fish cod and a quota, and it's usually, well, off the top of my head, like last year, I think it was around £3,800 a week. That's starting off the first when it opens. So I got £3,800 a week I can catch. Should be no problem. But the processors, because of their capacity, they'll tell me, no, you can't. We can't take £3,800 from you. We'll take half it. 1 day a week. Now we'll be in Carbonear, say Tuesday, and if you don't go out Tuesday because of weather or something, and get your half your quota, you could lose your whole week's quota because of capacity. So what I'm saying is, if Joanne Thompson lets the inshore or the food fishery people go out 7 days a week, and I'm going to be set on the wharf with a license to fish, and I can't go out, I got to watch them coming in every day of the week. How's that going to be?
Yeah, that doesn't sound very good at all, and it sounds like a similar treatment. You know, you're punishing the innocent when it comes to the rules. So, of course, time frame is an issue for you. So, give me a sense of when the license period would be for you under normal circumstances, because like you say, you're overlapping the crab, which is not helping you at all.
Well, last year, I don't know, it started sometime in June, July, I guess. And, last year, they kept it open all the winter. If you wanted to fish it all the winter, I kept my boat in the water all winter. And, I mean, you can't fish a 34-foot 11 boat in the winter time because the weather's not fit. But I kept it out. I kept the nets on board. I was fished until November, late November. And until the plant all closed up, and there was nowhere to sell it anyway. So I had to give up then. I kept the boat in Harbour Grace, and the nets are still on. But what I got nothing against the food fisher. I just want everybody to know that. Everybody should be allowed to go out whenever he wants to get a meal of fish. Yes, I got nothing against that whatsoever. But I'd like for Joanne Thompson, before she does that, to do something to help the fishermen. It's like we got a major capacity problem here. One processor told me I can handle what codfish is here. But if he can, why am I on a trip limit? 1 day a week, maybe 2 days a week. Why can I only bring in half my quota when I should be allowed to bring in the full quota? Yeah. That's what I want to know. When are they going to do something to help us?
Yeah, no, that's a solid point too, because you've got a time frame that you want to get your fish in. You can't bring in more than somebody will take. That's no good. And I'm assuming that you can't sell it elsewhere. Not that you would want to anyway. You would want to get rid of it here in the province and get it out to market. They can get it out to market from there. So, what is the answer? What is the answer for this issue, Ken?
I don't know what the answer is. It just needs more plants, more capacity.
Yeah, that's difficult, isn't it?
Buying
right?
the fish is the plants that do buy the fish are buying the crab. So I mean, I understand that the crab plants are full. They got to look after the crab too, and crab got priority over cod. It seems like so.
Well, is it more valuable than cod?
Well, it depends when he figures out what the price is.
Yeah, well, they got that done. They settled that yesterday, I think. But yeah, so they're going to go where the money is, I suppose, to some degree, aren't they?
Well, I'll put it to you this way. I don't have a crab license, so the cod's worth a lot more to me than crab.
No, absolutely. So that doesn't help you one bit. You might have a feeder crab, but that isn't going to put the crab on your table from the sale of your fish. Yeah. So is it something? Is there an inshore fishers organization still that makes representation to the federal minister, the federal government?
Yes, well, DFO have been going around in the fall every year, the last couple of years now, in different places all over the island. A couple of fellas are going around and they're asking the fishermen, what did he want? How was your summer? What do you need changed? And all this stuff. This has been brought up hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of times now, all over the island to the DFO. And they'll pass it on and say, well, look, licensing and plants, all that processing licenses, that's provincial fisheries.
Yeah, okay. So almost too complicated to deal with in some respects, hey?
Oh, yeah. I didn't know, but nobody can understand what's going on with it. But I want to change the subject for a minute now before we go. On the fuel, I heard them talking about the other day that gas is going to change over from winter blend to summer blend next week, Monday, I think it is.
Yeah, I heard that too, yeah.
So can somebody tell me, like, we're buying winter blend fuel now. Have all that got to come out of the gas tanks in all the gas stations around the province, and then to put the summer blend in? What is summer blend and what is winter blend? Someone explain that to me.
It's a solid question, and is it an additive or not an additive? So in other words, is there something that they put in their tanks at the fuel stations and they start doing it that way? We'll get an answer for on that for you, Ken, because it's something that I heard just a couple weeks ago, and the first time I ever heard it, but I understand the premise of it, but how does it work? You know, we're changing over, of course, whatever you've got in your tank is what's in your tank. Does it mix with it and so forth? There can't be any problems with it. It seems to be seamless because nobody goes, oh my gosh, I got winter blend in. What am I going to do? It's summer. That doesn't seem to be an issue. So whether it's an additive that the service stations do or if it's just something that gets blended in with the new deliveries, I'm not sure. But anyway, let's see if we can find that out for you, Ken. Thank you for calling Open Line. You have a great day, and we're going to move on to line 2, and on line 2 I have Ron. Ron, how you doing this morning?
Hey, Darren. Am I on there?
You are, so. You're live, buddy.
Yes, bye. Long-time listener, first time calling you. So, listen, I phoned in to follow up on Tara's call about the emergency department. And but before I talk about that, can you look around that booth you're in and see if all your predecessors, right back, the one I remember way back is Ron Pumphrey, the first one I remember, did any of these people leave stuff behind, memorabilia, like a coffee mug or a jacket or a ball cap or anything? Is there like a museum in there or what?
No. Well, now look, I got to be honest with you. It is a maze in here. There's a lot of hallways and a lot of offices and a lot of booths. I've been here 5 days. 5 days out of my life I've been here, and I'm still trying to find my way between the coffee room, the bathroom, and the booth here in a timely manner. But I don't see anything like that.
Yeah, okay. I was just wondering, like, say, when Bill Rowe left, did he leave his coffee mug or something or whatever, a pair of sunglasses or whatever, anyway. But anyway, that was... There's nothing there. I'm just sort of trying to get a visualization of it. I know it's a massive equipment there, so you know. But anyway, I'm just wondering if you had like jackets and coffee mugs hanging around, all this stuff and everything. And
I'll tell you what. I could start. I'll leave my mug here this week and see.
There you go.
You call back in 10 years, see if it's still here.
Okay, let's jump to the emergency room thing there. So I know you might be up against the clock at 11:30.
Yeah, and I've only got a couple of minutes, but you go ahead.
Sure thing. Okay. I think it was Tara called in there about I didn't catch Oliver call at the beginning, but I was down there last Friday with my sister, and I've been there. Can I name the hospital?
Yeah, go ahead. We're paying for it.
St. Clair's Hospital.
Oh, okay.
And I went with St. Clair's. I live in that area, like, of the hospital, and that's been our hospital for a long time in this area. And I've seen some good things, good changes. I've been there a few times, you know, like over the years and that, and seen some bad things, seen some good things and that. And one thing I came up with one time, and I phoned one of your predecessors about it, is like, if I go, say, to a restaurant, or there's a few restaurants in town where you go in, you can't wait inside. They said, here's a little chit, go out in your car and sit down. We'll call you when you're ready. You familiar with what I'm talking about?
Yeah, they give you the buzzer or whatever, but if they don't have enough room there in the waiting space, sure, yeah.
Yeah. Now, given the fact of terror, like, you know, people throwing up and different things, I've seen people come in and go in the washroom and come out with a different change of clothes on. You know, I've seen them go in there normal and come out kind of not as normal. And there's different reasons that washroom gets used sometimes. Now, one of the good things they did down there is that they keep the washroom locked in there now. So if you want to go in the washroom, you got to go ask to go in there. So that's a good thing. Yeah. You can't just walk in there anymore. You used to be able to do that a little while ago, right?
Okay.
But this thing with like, say, when I went with my sister, And if there was a system in place where you could go wait in your car, you get checked in and everything, they know you're going to be there like a couple hours, give you the option to go to your car. Most people, not everybody, I understand. A lot of people have cell phones. If we can contact you when you're out in your car and you can be here within, say, a half hour, I don't mean go home and go to McDonald's for a hamburger. I mean, like, you know, you don't have to be next to someone coughing or throwing up or whatever. If you're going to be, we were sat there for like probably the longest, just sitting there before we had to go in anywhere, like probably 3-4 hours at one point. And if we could just sit in the car, my sister would have been more comfortable, put the seat back and recline or something, and, you know, things like that. So I did call healthcare before about it. I got the number for the patient you can put input in, and I called in, spoke to someone, gave them the idea. Now, I know, like, I don't know if you heard this one before, ideas are like babies. Everybody loves their own, right? So I phoned this place.
Ron, I got to be honest with you. I'm liking yours. I like that idea. Go in, you check in, you go through triage. You know you're not going to keel over anytime right quick. Get your buzzer and go out to your car. I'd rather sit in my car with a coffee than sit in the emergency room for sure.
Yeah, so I'm not saying give you a buzzer. What I'm saying is have a cell phone. Like, you got to have a cell phone to avail of the service kind of thing, right?
Well, that's right, and they do that in restaurants as well, you know. Like, we give you a cell phone number, next thing you know, you get a text, your table's ready, right? There you go.
So same idea, right? So, and like I said, with the ideas, like, so I phoned this person, answered, whatever, told him what my idea was or whatever my suggestion was, and that. Gee whiz, like, you know, that sounds like, you know what, I said, do you go to these meetings where these things are, oh yeah, I go to these meetings, sometimes I don't go, but I pass them on. I said, can you ensure that I get a phone call back? No problem, you'll get a call back. I didn't get a call back, which I didn't really expect I would, but, you know. So, I don't know if it just went down a sticky pad and someone just threw it in the garbage after or whatever, or just, you know, post a note that got lost, or if it went to a meeting and someone said, yeah, whatever, right? So, you know, and I get it. These nurses, the staff, the PCAs, everybody, all the staff, security guards, everybody, they're stressed to the max and work to the max, right? And once you implement the system, would it work or would it not work? You know, would it help people, not help people, especially during COVID times, you know, when I first sort of approached this subject a little bit. And, you know, so I'll just... You know, just throwing it out there now. Now, another good thing they did have down there at St. Clair's was the first time I ever seen it last Friday night. They had an ambassador at a little desk there. And are you familiar with that?
No, I'm not.
First time I seen it was at Health Science. And they said, go see the ambassador. I said, what are you talking about? Like, I'm not in the United Nations here, like, on anything, right? And they said, no, go down. There's a person there, guide me to where I had to go. Any questions I had, do whatever. And I seen that St. Clair's the other night. And I said, this is great. Like, she answered some questions we had and everything. And later in the evening, a lady came in distress, like, whatever, like, and she was crying and everything. And then she went outside. And I seen the ambassador out sitting on the concrete step outside with the woman who was having a smoke at the time, like, crying or whatever. But, you know, is like that particular ambassador, like, went way above beyond what you need to do, right?
Well, the little things matter, hey, especially when you're in distress and situations like that. I am way beyond the break time, Ron. I appreciate that. I love the suggestions. So let's see maybe if somebody out there that has the a power and authority to look further into that can do so. But I think it would have been a great scenario for any time I've ever ended up over there. That's for sure.
Dave will get all these breaks straightened out next week.
I don't know if I'll ever get it figured out. Thanks, Ron. You have a great weekend.
You too, Darren. Thank you.
Right.
Bye-bye.
We're going to go to break now, and we'll be back in just a couple of minutes on Open Line.
The Tim Powers Show. Join the conversation weekday afternoons at 4 p.m. on your VOCM.
All right, we're back with Open Line on this Friday morning, and we're in the home stretch now on the show today. Just a couple of things. Earlier today, we had some callers talking about studded tires, and we've had some responses since. Some people have reached in. Glenn's reached in. He said, I bought my first set of studded tires 50 years ago, and they do work better in winter here in Corner Brook. But if the the roads were plowed, salted right, you could get away with all-season tires. Years ago, the salt truck used to follow the plow, but now the city puts salt out, then plows it. That don't work as good. So there's one suggestion. And, of course, we had somebody else say that studded tires do a lot of damage to paved roads. Some drivers leave these studs on all year long, and of course that's a no-no. And with softer pavement, the damage is even greater, and I have never heard of anyone getting a ticket for it. No, I've never heard of anyone getting a ticket for studded tires beyond either, but it may have happened. We'll see. So anyway, I'm just going to take a moment now to go to break, and we'll be back with the home stretch of the show. Well, welcome back to Open Line. I'm your host, Darren Bent, and the House of Assembly is getting set to open for an 18-day stint on the calendar on Tuesday. And on the line with me now, we have the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador, Tony Wakeham. Premier, welcome to Open Line.
Oh, thanks, Darren, and congratulations on your hosting opportunity.
Well, it's a bit of fun, I can tell you. Lots to talk about, and I've learned a lot this week. I'm sure that's something that you're no stranger to in the past 6 months. You've been sitting in the big chair for 6 months now, almost. Has it felt like 2 days or 2 years to you?
Well, it seems the time has come pretty quickly, and that's one of the challenges, of course, of the new government. It's not like you just took a 30-day break and went back in again. We went in, of course, and everybody is new, so it's been a big learning curve and getting the transition in place. But we're moving forward, and I'm looking forward to bringing down our first budget and keep the commitments that we made in our platform.
Well, there it is, right? The budget is coming up relatively soon. A lot of governments have waited for the budget from the federal government before they release the provincial. Not a rule, but of course we know the federal government did their budget in the fall. They're doing an economic update soon. Is it your plan to wait for that update, or are you just going to move ahead on your own time frame?
No, we're moving ahead on our own time frame. I think what you're seeing from the feds is, as you described it, a fiscal update. It's not their budget as such. So we're going to be moving ahead. My finance minister and his staff have been working diligently with all the departments to build the budget that will reflect the commitments that we made when we were running for office. And obviously, we're elected for a 4-year mandate, and we intend to follow through on our Blue Book commitments.
Yeah, we're hearing a lot from your government, of course, about the financial situation of the province. And when you lay out your roadmap in the speech for the throne, it's really the budget where the rubber hits the road on what you're going to do. And given the situation we have in the province financially, how do you balance that with trying to help the people that are saying, and like the old adage in politics, it's the economy, stupid. In other words, the cost of living and all these different things that are weighing on people. How do you balance that out? Which way do you lean?
Well, that's the challenge, as you have pointed out. But I made a commitment during the campaign that my first priority was going to help Newfoundlanders and Labradorians balance their books before we balance the books of the province, and that's a commitment that you will see resonate in our first budget. We have our ways to go in order to balance. We're not going to balance our budget this year or next year. We have to. We strategically have to take a look at where we're going, but I don't believe that you build your way to success by just simply cutting programs and services. You build your economy by investing in your economy, by creating jobs and creating industry. And that's going to be the focus for us. That's how we're going to bring our province back, help balance our books.
Yeah, and of course, if you're doing a slash and burn type of effort, it leads to instability in the economy with regards to jobs and so forth like that. It's a very fine line to walk, isn't it, between fiscal responsibility and ensuring you're doing the right thing socially?
Absolutely. You can't cut your way to prosperity. You have to grow your way to prosperity. And that's exactly what our focus has been. That's what we've been focused on for the first 6 months. And that's what we'll be focused on for the next 4 years.
We've been hearing a lot about healthcare this week on Open Line, and of course, you're looking at the healthcare system. You're looking at the model that was laid out, I think, during the previous administration. Where is that going? Because I think we heard from Pat Parfrey for the first time yesterday, and he thought that the model was going to continue. Is it your plan to continue that model?
Yes, I think the Health Accord in itself is a good model for us to be following and to use. But it's also one of the major concerns I've had in the past. It's the way it's been rolled out, the way it's been implemented. And I'll give you one quick example, and that has to do with the whole idea of family care teams. You know, there was announcement after announcement of another family care team, another family care team. We heard announcements about how we're building a new family care team center. We've got places built now where there's actually no staff to occupy them. So, you know, when you're simply making announcement after announcement, that's the wrong approach. What we ought to say is, yes, we believe in family care teams. Yes, we do. But let's make sure that we invest and allow them to be successful. And Minister Evans has come out and said publicly that, you know, we're not going to go out and announce any more family care teams until we get the ones we have established fully staffed. That's the key here, is you have to have the resources. You can have all the physical structures you want in the world. You can have all the ideas in the world. But it comes down to having the people available to fill the jobs that you need filled, and that's got to be our focus.
Yeah, it always comes back to the people, doesn't it? Look, we've heard the Carney government announce infrastructure funding for health care across the country just recently. Does that bode well for your plan to remodel St. Clair's and other facilities?
Well, it will certainly help. I think there's a $5 billion announcement and how that will play out in Newfoundland and Labrador in terms of our share. But there are so many need requirements in Newfoundland and Labrador. As you know, over 300, on any given day, there are more than 300 people in our acute care hospitals that are what they call advanced level of care. They don't need to be there. They're occupying acute care beds. And we certainly see the pressures that creates on people getting access to acute care beds. You see the backups in emergency departments. You see the backups for surgical procedures to be done. So it's very important for me to say we need to free up those acute care beds. And how do we do that in terms of our strategy around long-term care? Whether it's the personal care home, whether it's the stay-at-home, whether it's more long-term care beds, all of those has to be a priority right now to get that done. Because literally speaking, that's the size of a full hospital if you think about it. Over 300 beds every single day in our acute care system, occupied by people who are medically discharged and need an alternate level of care. And I would argue it's very challenging for them to receive the appropriate care that they would need in an acute care setting.
Yeah, and once one part of the system starts to back up, it affects all parts of the system. And so if you can alleviate that area of concern, it should help. But the thing that's dogged Premier after Premier after Premier and federal government, and we hear it's almost a mantra of being a Canadian, is wait times. Are you able to look in any way as a provincial government, do you have the wherewithal to just look at the wait time situation and say we can help by doing this here?
I think there's a bunch of approaches, a number of approaches you could take on that. And the first one has to be access to a primary care provider. That is the key to helping. Like, we have to focus on keeping people out of emergency departments and not finding places for them once they get to emergency departments, because that's where, if you think about the social determinants of health and start talking about those as how they can contribute to keeping people healthier in their communities longer, there's a lot of work to be done. But on the primary care piece, making sure that they have access to a primary care provider, that's why we're putting in things so that nobody has to pay to see a nurse practitioner. That's why we're going to be working with our medical association, working with our nurses union to talk about it, working with other unions to make sure that people are able to practice to their full scope. Because I firmly believe that the focus for us should be on trying to keep people out of emergency departments, not simply building larger ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm going to move away from the budget and healthcare just for a minute for a couple of things. And we've heard in recent days that the Liberal Party in Quebec is making a resurgence. And of course, they're heading to an election this fall. But the MOU is looming over all of this, I suppose, for many people in the province. And they're wondering, does that development in Quebec, I'm going to say this, and I'm not being facetious, does it mean anything to you as the Premier of Newfoundland and Labrador that a pro-MOU government could come around at the end of the day, or certainly a coalition of pro-MOU in Quebec? Does it mean anything?
Well, for me, it's not about the politics of Quebec. I think, quite frankly, Quebec has a need for the power. We have the power. So for me, it's important to say that if we're going to enter into any kind of deal on power that we go through, working a deal with Quebec is something that, sure, we'd be more than happy to work a deal with Quebec. But it has to be a deal that's in the best interest of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. And that's why we went through the independent review process. There were lots of concerns raised about the current state of the current MOU and what it did or didn't do. There were lots of people who were opposed to it. There were lots of people who supported it. But that's why I call for an independent review committee to be put in place to do that detailed examination. They're doing their work, and they'll be finished up at the end of April, and I'm looking forward to getting their report and their recommendations.
Okay, Premier, and just on this latest thing about campaign donations, and we've heard a lot about it, the Liberals are suggesting that the former Premier is carrying influence with donation. The NDP say the Liberals are calling the kettle black. But in the midst of it all, there's talk of calls for donation reform so that whether the sense of influence is not just an accusation, that it can be seen not to be done. Is that something that's on your radar at all, looking at the donation rules and regulations?
Well, I think for me, democratic reform is definitely something that we need to look at, because one of the challenges that we've always had, is getting people to put their name forward for office. And you know that well from your time in municipal politics as well. And what are the challenges to people in putting their name forward when they want to consider running for office? And how do we help eliminate that? You know, we've talked about fixed election dates. Supposedly we have one, but then it's been wishy-washy to some extent in terms of when they actually happen. We need to have a firm fixed date for an election. And then we got to look at democratic reform on all aspects of it, and especially on financing side of it, and how people are able to afford to put their names forward for office. And so there's lots of different ways, I think, that but we certainly need to have that conversation. I look forward to it.
Yeah, thank you, Premier. And not only are you the last caller of the day, you're the last caller of the week. And we appreciate you making time for us today. And we look forward to seeing what comes of the House. And we are absolutely with bated breath on your first budget. So good luck out there. And we'll be talking again, I'm sure, soon. Premier, I'm going to let you go, and we're going to go to the news now at 12 o'clock. Thank you very much.